Hello YouTube, welcome Dano here with the Peanut, and this is another episode of Comics and Cocktails, I guess.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers.
Gotta drink, it's bad luck.
You know I know that, right?
You know my anxiety has to tell you to do it. Okay, so this is an episode where we're going to be asking Bookum Dano some questions, comic related, and I prepared 5 or 6 questions. I don't know. We'll just see how it goes. You ready?
I'm all set.
I'm excited. All right, so first question. What are your favorite slabs and why?
Okay.
Because I asked you to pick some.
Yeah, you asked me to pick some up,
So now you'll
I
know why.
had a few things ready here. So this is Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, 134. It is the first appearance of Darkseid in Cameo, and you can see it's really solid grade, 9.2.
Yeah, let's take it out and
Right.
talk about it for a little bit.
So I got,
Oh wow, there's the lamp right there. There we go.
yeah, very good. This was, I spoke about it a little bit on another video, but purchased this with a run of Jimmy Olsen's at an auction, and got really lucky because this was the best, in the best condition of all of them, and it's by far the
From
most valuable.
1970, 9.2. That's pretty good.
So not too bad, yeah. So sent it in to CGC, obviously, and got it graded. So pretty happy with that. Darkseid is one of my favorite villains characters, so happy to have that one.
Very neat.
And then we'll just moving right along here.
Now, is that one for your private collection, or is that one?
Yeah, these are all for the personal
PCs.
collection. Yep, that's right.
Ooh.
This is sorry about the glare. It's not working.
Just
Maybe
put it on there, and then yeah.
So this is 4-color 178 from Dell Comics. It's from 1948, and it is the 47. Sorry, and it is the first appearance of Uncle Scrooge. And one of the cool things about Uncle Scrooge's first appearance is that, unlike most other Disney characters, his first appearance anywhere is in the comic book. Most of them were, in like cartoon shorts shown in movie theaters and stuff like that.
Oh, that's nice.
So
why else does Uncle Scrooge have and Donald Duck have kind of a special place in your heart?
my dad is a big Donald Duck fan, so
Yeah.
and I don't think he's got a real big collection of Donald Duck comics, but I don't think he has this one. So I was happy to get it, and a 4.0 is a solid grade for a book from 1947. And then the last one I brought was one of the first comics I got graded. If you can see that, it's Star Wars #2. It's the first appearance of Han Solo, Chewbacca, Jabba the Hutt, and the Millennium Falcon. So, pretty good first appearances there. I bought this as part of a Bronze Age Marvel auction lot from Heritage Auctions. Whole bunch of stuff in there. Tarzan, Red Sonja, Logan's Run, just a bunch of Bronze Age Marvel stuff. It was all pretty high grade. And of course this Star Wars #2. And the very first batch of books I sent in had this, I sent in this with it. And it came back at 9.6. I didn't have it pressed or anything, so I was real happy with that, real excited. Star Wars is a big part of stuff I'm interested in. So was super happy
Bye, Ollie.
to get that. So those are three.
Those are some
you know,
cool
that are
slabs
from the personal collection that
that you
mean
enjoy.
a little bit extra for me. Yeah.
Okay. So you have mentioned that you like watching auctions and getting most of your high grade books from auctions. So which ones do you watch and which ones do you recommend that people go out and subscribe to? Can you subscribe to these auctions? How do you get onto an auction site?
Sure. So there's, well, before the current
Situation.
COVID situation, there were several auctions that took place weekly. Heritage auctions, which they are a big auction company,
Yeah.
kind of like Sotheby's. You know, they do jewelry and fine art
Yeah.
and movie posters and a lot of things. But comics is every Sunday evening they have a comic auction. So it's a really good. All you have to do is go to their website. It's ha.com, and you look for the lots. It can take a little while to find it because they have so many different auctions going on. You know, baseball cards and all kinds of stuff. So, but it's worthwhile because you can learn a lot. There's really good descriptions of each comic, and they have things like the CGC census, so you can quickly tell how many other comics are graded and how many are graded at a higher level than what they're showing. So that's one of the ones that I pay attention to. I don't very often buy from them just because they've got buyer's premiums, and it's you always have to factor in all these other costs above your bid, which gets a little bit annoying, but it is a good place to learn. The other one that I paid attention to pretty faithfully was the My Comic Shop auction on Monday nights. That's Lone Star Comics in Texas. They, however, have closed for the time being, so their auctions are not happening now. Once they're allowed to go back to business, they're a great place to purchase comics. Even outside of their auction, their website is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a great place to do research, find out, what, they got detailed pictures of every comic, pretty much every comic that's ever been made, whether or not they have it in stock, different, prices available for their grades, and that sort of thing. Their shipping is super, it's inexpensive, maybe $5 for their economy shipping, and they
fast.
ship it well. So.
And if you're a partner or spouse or friend who's looking to buy for a comic lover, I've gone on there and done a little bit of research just to make sure I'm buying a good book, because I don't know what the hell I'm buying. But they, at least you can type in, they make it really easy for you, just to type it in and just to see if you're buying a near mint, if it's going to be worth your money, and if whoever is going to be happy with it. I've used it before.
Yeah.
As my own personal preference.
Excellent. Yeah, because it's a fantastic website, and their website is still available.
Yeah.
You just can't purchase anything on it, but you can still use it for research in the meantime, which I would recommend.
Absolutely.
There's a bunch of other auction sites that I don't really spend too much time with, but a lot of people like them, like Comic Link and that sort of thing. Hakes. You can find those pretty easily.
Okay. So the next question comes from, actually my sister asked me this question.
All right.
So it's kind of like a 2-part, 3-part, but you'll condense it. I know you will. Okay. So why do you grade your comics? What does this mean? And should others grade their comics?
I'm going to start with the part 3 first.
Okay.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Once you start, you can't. It's addicting.
I can testify to that. There's like a whole room of graded comics, and the other. If there wasn't such like a glare on our glass case where we keep our statues, we'd probably be in the comic book room, because you got some cool ones. But go on with your question.
All right. So, being kind of facetious there, but grading does a couple things for you. If you ever want to sell your books online, like on eBay or Facebook or your own website or whatever, having them graded by a third party makes that a little bit easier.
So like this is more value graded than just
correct.
Just the regular copy.
People will pay a premium for a
graded.
For the third party grade on there. Now, a couple things about these. Obviously they are encased in a plastic capsule, so you can't read the comic once it's in here. But it does, preserve it really nice. It's nice for display if you want.
You'll have them forever. You can't break them that way once they're encased.
You can. I mean, it's possible to.
Yeah, nobody's gonna arrest you if you crack it
well,
open.
So like some people might. There's a couple different grading companies. You can see that the slab looks a little different. This is an old CBCS slab. That's one of the grading companies.
That's good to know.
And this is CGC. These other two are CGC. CGC is the more prevalent company, but CBCS is recognized and respected as well. There's a few other grading companies too, and they, not so much on the, people don't have a lot of faith in those other companies.
And reasons being is if you have, like, for instance, one that's signed, they'll still put it in the slab, but you kind of have to take it at face value if it's really the true signature.
Yeah.
These other places, there has to be a witness.
That brings up a really good point. I don't have one right here, but I showed the other day in they had a Sender number 1 that was signed, and if you remember, the label was yellow, not blue. The yellow label means that an employee or a representative of CGC or CBCS actually witnessed the artist or the writer signing the book. So, you can be confident that it was actually signed by, Frank Miller or Todd McFarlane or Dustin Wynn or whoever it says it's signed by. And that is really cool, know, because that, if you don't have that yellow label, you're selling, say, a raw book with maybe a certificate of authenticity, or maybe no certificate. You're just saying, hey, I got this signed.
This was signed by Aunt Lucia.
So it's, it adds a little, like a guarantee of legitimacy to the signature. So it preserves them. It makes them easier to sell because you've got this third party that's telling you that this is a 4.0 or a 7.0. Because comic collectors are pretty particular, and if you say something is a near mint 9.4, and you mail it to them, and they're like, no, this is a 6.5. You're gonna be arguing back and forth. You're probably gonna have to refund their money, or at least part of it.
They'll send it right back
because it's.
They get very particular.
So dealing with the certified books removes that issue.
It's buyer confidence.
Exactly.
Like buying a luxury good with the little certificate that comes with it saying this is for sure it.
Yep.
Okay. Good job.
And then they display nice too. So
they really do. Excuse my language. I give them a lot of shit for having a comic book room, but I love it.
I thought it was your idea.
It was my idea. It was. It was. But yet I still complain. And actually, it wasn't just my idea. I've actually like decorated it, designed it, and pretty much have told you what to buy and put in your comic book room.
Yeah. It's pretty much her comic book room.
Welcome to marriage, okay? Lesson right there. Have fun.
What else you got?
No, I love being married to you. I love that this is your.
I love you too.
I love that this is your hobby. I mean, you know, it's like this or like, you know, you're a drug addict. I mean, which one are you gonna pick? I'd rather him collect comics, right? So, anyway. Okay, so I have some fun ones for you, and the next question kind of goes to maybe if you're still out there trying to figure out how to sell your comics, how do you price your comics? Do you use a guide? I just might have a couple things handy for you. How do you price your comics?
Sure. That's always a tough, issue. There's kind of two ways to do it. You can use the Overstreet Comic Book Price Guide, which comes out once a year.
Yeah, so this is 2018 to 2019.
I'm sure if you're a comic person, you've seen these before. And it lists all the comics and the different prices for them at different grade levels. From like 2.0 on up to 9.2. The guide is far from perfect, though. For one thing, you're going to get books that are kind of on trend or hot because a character is going to be in the next Marvel movie, and so any comic that has maybe the first appearance of that character that's about to debut in a Marvel movie, that book is going to go up in value really fast, and the guide will be wrong on that.
And people, when we've been at conventions, they'll argue a price of like a really high grade, so it's not guaranteed. If you get this and you'll look through and you can pick out any comic you want, all these are in there, and it will tell you what a 9.4 or 4.5 is and stuff like that. But people will still argue with you. So this isn't necessarily guaranteed. You kind of have to.
No, but it's useful for other things. It's kind of like the My Comic Shop webpage or website. You can use it for research even if you're not planning to actually purchase a comic from there. The first part of the book is filled with articles by different, market comic people throughout the country, throughout the world, really. And they might own comic stores, or they might be private collectors. They might work for an auction house, or they might work for CGC or CBCS. And they just kind of tell you what they've noticed over the past year. And that information can be really useful. There's also articles about, maybe it's the 75th anniversary of the debut of a character or something. So there'll be an article about it, and you might learn something about a character you didn't know about or didn't know very much about.
And sometimes books, I've noticed, get hot, or people are really high on books because you didn't know a movie was going to come out or a show. So then all of a sudden that book is like super hot to get.
Right,
or,
right.
Unfortunately, maybe the author or artist has passed that year. So they can't predict that when they print out these books, right?
Yep.
Certain things
Yeah,
like that.
it's got the same weak spots as any other in-print publication. I think the reports have to be in by December of the previous year, and then it comes out in June or July of the next year. So you've had, possibly as much as a year's worth of information come and go that's not going to be included in there. But it's a worthwhile tool as long as, it's not...
Give some wiggle room.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, take a sip of your beer.
One other thing about checking for prices is, the other thing people do is look on eBay to see how much a comic is worth, and that's okay. But you need to look at sold items. What did the item actually sell for? because there'll be 10 people out there asking $200 for a certain comic, but if the actual selling price at an auction is $125, $200 is not the price of that comic. The price of that comic in that grade is $125.
I'll give you guys a great example, just really quick. We were at a convention, and I collect more comic book art, like art on the wall, and statues. I love statues. So, so this one dude was like,
what statue was that we were trying to get?
Gosh,
is it Green Arrow or?
I think it was Cheetah, the Aunt Lucia cheetah.
Okay.
And so that one at that particular time was like $80-$90 range.
Yeah.
And he was charging $130, but it was the last day of the convention, which means they don't want to pack up all their stuff. So usually,
it's usually a good time to make deals.
Yeah, that's the time where you kind of like bargain and you deal and you get real cute, right? But this guy, I noticed he was using eBay, and the cheetah statue on eBay was going for like $130, $140, and I was like, I'm not going to pay that. I know it's like $80 to $90, I'll pay. So eBay is not the greatest tool to use, and we did walk away.
Yeah, we didn't buy it.
We didn't
walked
buy
away
it.
from it. So, and that's that's an important tool to have in your arsenal as well, is the ability to walk away if it's not a good deal.
Yeah, if it's not a good deal, man, just go away. There'll be another chance for you to buy something. So the last two questions will be quick, but they're kind of more fun.
Sure.
Who is your favorite comic book writer? And do you follow them on any social media platform, and which one?
Wow. Okay. So that's a great question.
You could just say your favorite one. You don't have to say which.
Yeah. It's one of the things that kind of changes based on what I'm reading. Jeff Lemire is great. He's written several series that I absolutely love.
He's solid.
We've talked about Descender and the sequel to it, Ascender, with his team up with Dustin Nguyen on those. Love those.
So
Fantastic. But he also writes Gideon Falls.
He writes Gideon Falls.
Which is amazing.
Royal
you
City.
reviewed those.
Yeah, lots of like independence, which I love, and then he writes like really good superhero.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I've read any of his superhero stuff. I know. Oh yeah, because he started writing the Terrifics.
Yeah.
And so he wrote like the first 15 issues, I think, of that. And I loved it. So yeah, he's great. As far as interacting with on like social media, Cullen Bunn, if you like any kind of like horror writing, Dark Ark, the Brothers Dracul, tons of stuff. And he writes some superhero stuff too. But Bone Parish.
Bone Parish.
Really
so good.
But he's great. I met him once at C2E2 a couple years back, and I couldn't believe it. There was nobody at his table, and I got to kind of walk up. He signed some stuff for me, and got to talk to him for a little bit. But he's really down to earth. He just told a really cool story on Twitter yesterday about finding a D&D book from his youth, and he bought it on eBay, and it was his book from when he was a kid, because he had drawn in it, doodled in it, and he recognized them from some of the pictures. So that was kind of a cool story. Scott Snyder, Brian Hill.
Brian Hill.
Brian Hill is great to follow on social media because he is so...
He'll engage back.
He'll engage with you. He's very positive and encouraging, and you can learn a lot. He doesn't waste your time, and but he'll he'll actually give you advice if you're trying to write something, or if you're. He also does, in addition to writing comics, he writes a lot of screenplays, movies and television, and
really good blogs too.
So so he'll give you advice. I think for a while he had a YouTube channel where he showed you some of his writing process and stuff like that. But he's a very down to earth guy who's talented and very hardworking.
Very cool. Okay, last question.
All right.
For Bookham Dano. Last question. Because I'm running out of wine, so this is going to be the last question. Have you ever read a comic that surprised you, that you thought, like, why am I reading this? And why did it surprise you that you ended up liking it?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it wasn't a big surprise that I liked it. But it was a big surprise that I liked it as much as I did. and that is like Brubaker's noir stuff, Criminal and
so the stuff
Fade Out.
I tell you
the
read.
Stuff that you suggest I read. I thought it was phenomenal. I figured, this guy's got like 50 of these stories out there. He must be pretty good at writing them. So I knew it would be good, but you start reading it and you just feel like you're in a Humphrey Bogart movie or something.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, that was my last question for you.
All right.
I mean, I have like 15 more, but like I said in the last video, we have plenty of wine, beer, and bourbon to do lots of these. Cheers. I love you.
All right.
Cheers
Thanks
to
for
everybody
watching,
out there.
everybody.
Thank you for watching.
Be safe.